finally, just want to say, how much time have I about? Am I over time? What time is it? I'm fine? They always say that.
Fine.
Yeah. Finally, look for the to be connected spiritually, we've got to keep looking for the similarity in all of us. Pema Chodron, I call her Buddha girl because my wife my wife's still a good Baptist, and she's like, "What are you reading?" Buddha girl. Oh, okay, all right, that's fine. So she's a Buddhist, and she wants you to stare. She says in her book in her 2004 book, Getting Unstuck, I want you to stare next to the person and the person next to you in the traffic jam. And why does she want you to stare? Because in her book, Getting Unstuck, Breaking Your Habitual Patterns and Encountering Naked Reality, she suggests an exercise she calls Just Like Me. She recommends this exercise as a way of naming the blurry people we often encounter in our busy world. To name them, to really say, what would you feel like if this was you? All of us asked ourselves that question when we got that video from Iran of that beautiful girl being murdered in the streets, and her father holding her and pulling her close and begging for life to come back in her. Don't tell me that you didn't say, if that were my daughter, how I would feel. Oh, now I started preaching and not lecturing. But anyway, that is the question we have to ask ourselves in all circumstances. In all circumstances. And so I was called to the emergency room and I was told this family's coming in. And so I started looking for this family to come in because their mother had died. And then somebody whispered to me, now this will be an Indian family and not many of them will know English. Oh, great. You know, how do I find that thing in common? And they came into our room and they said in broken English, "Where's my mother?" And I brought them to their mother, and their mother was stretched out on a gurney, and she had died before they had gotten there. And they all stood around the gurney, and they spoke in languages I didn't understand, but there's one thing that I understood, and those were the tears that were coming down their eyes. And so I said to myself, I've got to grasp where they're finding their meaning. And this mother had given them their meaning in their life and their spiritual connection and their breath. And now that person was gone. And I could relate to that. And until we can look at other people and say, what if this person was me? What if I lived in this third world country and didn't have a bite to eat? Would I be planting bombs? Would you? I don't know. But I still think that's a question that you have to ask yourself. So I left the emergency room that day with a new appreciation that grief is a great equalizer in skin color, culture, religion, spirituality. And while it may be very difficult to understand the political complexities of places like Ireland or the Middle East, one should be able to understand that the horrendous sense of loss from losing a loved one is universal. And if we can't see the grief, if we can see the grief in people's eyes, in people's hearts, if you can see what's hurting them, if you could see what they want if they weren't afraid, I think we can come closer towards seeing the world in the eyes of God. And so this week, as you leave this place, I'd just ask you to take Children's Challenge. Look at people wherever they are, on the television set, in the form of opposition leaders, and form of Iranian presidents, in the form of just look at them and say, can I see that person at all like me? Ask God's help to see people just like you. My guess is that looking at people in such a manner will bring them into focus as real people. And the race that we run from day to day will become much less a race and much more of a life. Thank you. Thank you.